Hey, Nick and Kieran. I just wanted to give you a quick video of these forms, just so that way I can explain these and you guys can review these um, as as needed. Since these will be similar forms we look at, and you can obviously revert back to this video with any questions. But this is basically a copy of any purchase agreement when we make an offer on a home. So that way you can see, okay, here's all it's 9 pages, so there's a little bit to go through on this. But just real quick to get into it, this would be the agent information. Again, mine would be at the top here and the listing agent would be here. And then obviously your names, the address we're working with, and the legal description of the property. This obviously is in a subdivision, so we'll have a lot and block number, and basically any other homes that we were looking at. Number 2 is the purchase price. So this is, whatever we wanted to start out with negotiations. And obviously, if they counter and submit a counter offer, this can change. But again, this will just be a placeholder for that purchase price. For here, I mean, obviously, you don't have a home to sell or need to sell. So then it's not contingent upon a refinancing or closing. So we check that for no. Same thing, it's not a cash offer down here, or you're not getting cash proceeds from another sale. So those are pretty obvious. Earnest money, I think we talked briefly on that, but basically that's kind of like a deposit to show that you guys are serious about buying the home. And if there is an issue that could come up in the future, before closing, and we'll go through that in this contract later. But basically the seller could say, hey, I want to keep this earnest money because you didn't come to the agreement of the terms that we had originally, agreed upon. Obviously, I'm going to structure this offer so that way it protects you. And there's about 7 different ways I'll get this earnest money back for you. But it's basically saying title's going to hold this in case there is a dispute. And again, I can explain that a little more details. But basically, that would, once they accept this offer, we'd have 3 business days. Oops, sorry, that's the button I was looking for. To get that to the title company, and they will hold that. And obviously, that would get credited to you at closing. So then this 2,000, technically that'd be 370,000 because you're already putting 2,000 towards that. But again, these numbers can change, and I'll go through that too. Our response, so this is the broker of our office. We just have to have her on all of our documentation. Again, it's not a cash offer, and there's no proceeds from another sale. So sellers like to know that, okay, you don't have to sell another property in order to buy this one. Section D. So again, this number is going to change. These numbers are just placeholders. And I put in here that you're putting essentially 10% down. Luckily, this number can change, and you can decide how much more that you want to put on there. Again, I want to put this kind of at an advantage to you, saying we're showing the seller. So right now it's saying you're going to be putting 35,000 down. Since we are asking for, I think, 2% or 7,000 credit as well, I'm trying to structure this to show what's the, knowing you, basically it's kind of like poker. I don't want to like lay all our cards on the table that, oh, you're putting, 50,000 or 70,000. So it gives some room to work with. As long as what the seller is netting doesn't change, we can change this number all day. And again, it's more of just a placeholder. So again, if you have any other questions, let me know on that. What else? Oh, so your contingencies. So basically I put 1 day in there. So 1 day before closing, if God forbid, something dramatic happens and we're not able to close, again, this protects you because the offer defaults at 7 days, and we put 1 business day. So that way, again, just to protect you in case something were to happen. There's no other terms or conditions needed on this. Included in the sale. So again, every home is going to have default. That's why they put all this, as far as somebody's not going to dig up the driveway or the trees or heating fixtures, furnace, so you don't have to, list all those things on there. Same thing with the built-in dishwasher, ovens, light fixtures, all of that's automatically included. Some things that aren't, the refrigerator, garage door remote, so I specifically included those. Obviously, the stuff's not included is their personal property, say their car that's in the garage and cleaning items and, what clothes, whatever else is in there, automatically that they take that with them. Mineral rights was, so that's kind of boilerplate things. And then the title insurance, this is just saying that the owner, the seller, is going to pay for title insurance, and basically that just means they have the right to sell the home and they're going to pay to make sure there's no liens or issues with that with the transfer. And so we'll open that with Empire Title, and it is in a neighborhood and platted subdivision, so you wouldn't need, an extended coverage policy, but they do offer that for land or acreages or, other things like that. The inspection, yes, we'll definitely have an inspector come and do a physical inspection of the home. I put 7 business days to arrange that. I definitely have inspectors I can recommend, and obviously if you have someone you want to use, please feel free to use them, but we'll just want to make sure that gets done in the 7 days. What else? Oh, so that is not just the physical inspection of the home, that applies to, the neighborhood, the zoning, fencing, anything that's in and around that. We'd all want to have those inspections done within that 7 days. Below there's no well or septic or any other thing, so that doesn't really apply, but we could have, secondary inspections if needed. Once we do have that inspection, and let's say there's some items that we didn't know about and we want to have the seller fix, we would have 4, we'd submit to them and the seller would have 4 business days to respond saying, yes, we'll agree to fix those, or no, we don't want to fix anything, or I'll fix 2 of the 5 items so again, it's kind of a separate little negotiation process during this 4 days. And if we come to agreement, great, we move on. If not, that's basically saying, if we can't come to agreement, we'd have 2 business days to say, either we're withdrawing from the offer and then getting your earnest money back and go shopping for another home, or you could say, well, that's not that big of a deal. Okay, yeah, let's just move forward. But we'd have 2 days to come to agreement if we can't come to an agreement on the inspection items. Section 13 talks about lead-based paint, so that's not an issue because it was built after 1978, so I just checked those. These are just some disclaimers about square footage and inspections, and that was about it there. Property disclosure form, that's attached at the bottom of this, and it's basically saying the seller is providing all the information they know about the property, but we do still want to have an inspection just in case there's things that they're not aware of that may come up. Here's the HOA, and basically saying, yes, that's $600 a year. And every time a seller transfers a property to another buyer, there's typically a fee, and in this case, it's $250, just a one-time fee. Here's the other fees that come with, buying and selling a home. And so here is where I asked the seller to pay basically 2% towards, interest rate buy down or any of these other fees. Obviously, you have your lender that's helping pay for those fees. So if anything extra, that's why I stipulated to buy down at that interest rate. So yes, it does show as a buyer fee, but the seller is contributing 2% to use towards any of these check boxes. So the appraisal fee is about $500. Closing escrow fee, that's I think another $1,400, but we're only paying half of that, so it's about $700. And then again, all your lender documentation fees. Sounds like your lender's going to be paying that, so that's pretty amazing. And so we'll just check that all as buyer costs. Again, here's the seller, they're paying for their own title insurance and coverage. And then basically none of these really apply to this particular property. And this next section, so yes, you do plan to occupy the home. Section 21 basically is just talking about investment properties, so that doesn't apply to this. So final walkthrough. So 3 days before closing, we're going to go back and look at the house just to make sure nothing's changed as far as hasn't been any leaks, the roof didn't blow off, everything looks like it did when we went through, and basically to show that, okay, yeah, the sellers removed all their personal property and we're basically ready to close. A lot of this is mainly just kind of vocabulary and disclosures. Basically, you can e-sign this form and it's the same as, writing it with a pen. And when you are transferring funds, you can do that with a wire transfer versus cash, and kind of walks you through that process. Same thing, difference with a business day and a calendar day. Obviously, me and our transaction coordinator are going to keep you updated on all these different time frames, but it basically just spells out what to look for. Most of everything we do is in a business day, so keep that in mind. Here goes back to that earnest money and how we're protecting you during this process. If there is an issue that comes up and the seller feels that you have not adhered to the agreement, they could basically want to keep that earnest money as if you defaulted on that. That typically doesn't happen, and also I've protected you in this offer in case that does, that we've withdrawn in the time frame that's acceptable, and so that you would still get your earnest money back. Also, it talks about if the seller defaults, what options you have to seek legal action or kind of protect you. So in these check boxes are basically showing that I am your agent. I'm not going to disclose anything that wouldn't be advantageous to you, and the other agent is doing the same for their seller. So that just kind of describes that. Closing. So this would be the exciting time of saying, hey, the house is officially yours. So I put March 10th as that date through, and we would sign a couple days before that, but that's when it would become official. And that's where all of these prorations as far as taxes and utilities and payment would be prorated based on that March 10th date too. That's basically it. So we're saying we've given them till tomorrow at 3 p.m. to respond. That's either accepting the offer or countering our offer. So that gives them a time frame, and basically signatures there. This is the state of Idaho, disclosure form, basically saying the difference between a customer and your client. So obviously, I'm going to represent you as a client just to best protect you, but this just kind of stating, what the difference is. And this buyer rep agreement basically gives me the authorization to represent you and all the benefits that come with that. Luckily, the seller is going to be paying paying for my service. So the only thing that you have to pay is a $495, transaction fee that just basically helps keep record of your transaction in our office. I think they have to keep it for like 7 years. So it's just the documentation with that, and then working with the transaction coordinator just to kind of make sure that's a smooth process. So that's the only thing that's required of you. Aside from that, just the last form is the property disclosure form. So this is what we talked about before, all the different things that the seller is aware of. So I know with this home on Sandalwood, it did have a built-in central vac. So they're saying it's not working, or, to their knowledge. Same thing with the washer dryer, like those are not included, but everything else, microwave, ovens, those are all working. So just look through these check boxes. Just let me know if you have any questions on any of these. as well as kind of gives a history of the home, if there was any home insurance claims filed on it, or age of the roof or the siding. Obviously, it's in a HOA. So again, if you have any questions, let me know about these check boxes. But otherwise, that's essentially it. So we can talk this afternoon if you have any other questions, but just wanted to go through this briefly so you can kind of reference that and go from there.